Good morning, my community. Jill here with North Texas Vegetable Gardening Canning Recipes, a little bit of everything. We're going to talk about a great concern today of ours. We are not seeing any pollinators. None. Zilch. Zero. So I'm having to continue to come out here and hand pollinate my squash. I'm still losing probably about 25 to 40% of it to the blossom end rot. We're pretty confident that the calcium is okay in this raised bed, and we're pretty confident that it's lack of pollinators. So I want you to look at this video from last year on my cucumbers, and I want you to pay very close attention to all the bumblebees on those cucumbers. Can you see that bumblebee in there? He is pollinating away. And we have another one. Now granted, guys, this is our cantaloupes. Got me a nice one right there. But the same premise goes for cucumbers, that the pollinators have not been inhibited from finding these flowers in this high tunnel on these vines that are vining out, that are conventionally planted. So we certainly had quite a bit more last year going on in this big high tunnel. Now we have people come out and visit us, and people that come out and buy some of our stuff, and they also are gardeners, and we've had many of them tell us that they are not seeing any pollinators this year, and I have a feeling that some of you are seeing the very same thing. So be sure and comment below and let me know what you're seeing with your pollinators. Now Greg does put the sweet alyssum down below our plants because those are supposed to attract pollinators. But guys, we're not seeing them even outside. We're not seeing them on the dandelions in the fields around us. We're just not seeing them at all. And in fact, the only thing I think that is pollinating some of my stuff is we have a lot of moth-looking butterflies, but there's also some ants, not fire ants, but some ants on my squash over there in this big high tunnel. And zucchini's doing pretty good, and that patty pan seems to be doing okay, but my yellow squash is struggling a great deal, even though I'm coming out and hand pollinating. So it's not all a bust, but I'm not seeing very many of these in my cucumber patch here. So this morning early, I got out here with Q-tip and started germinating each of these flowers, or I'm sorry, pollinating. I get those two mixed up all the time. Pollinating each of these flowers, and I'm very careful to use a different Q-tip per plant because I have several different varieties. So I'm happy to see some of my slicers are coming in. I think there's one or two more, but guys, we should really have quite a bit more by this time, since we planted as early as we did. And I'm just not seeing them. Here's some of my maters in here. I need to get in there and pick some of these red ones. I picked a couple yesterday. Now, tomatoes, since we have this bar and we have them trellised this way, I can shake them a little bit to help pollinate them. But guys, I'm telling you, pollinators will give us an even bigger harvest. So even though we're seeing some tomatoes in here, we are seeing a lot of flowers that need to be pollinated in spite of us shaking our rod to shake these plants up a little bit. And I would expect to see many more tomatoes by now than what we're seeing in this big high tunnel. So it is imperative that we start getting some pollinators. So we are surrounded by farmland, commercial farmland. Cornfields and wheat are the two main crops that we see planted out here within just a couple of acres away from us, not far at all. And they do their spraying and stuff, and when they do their spraying, the bees tend to vamoose or meet their demise. I'm not sure what's happening with what it is that they spray, but deeply concerning. And that's why we don't use any kind of insecticides or herbicides that may hurt our bees. Guys, bees are imperative to us gardeners, small gardeners alike, small, medium, large gardeners. Bees are imperative. And if you're surrounded with farmland that gets planted and worked, then you're going to see struggles like we do. Of all the things that our government wants to control, you'd think that they would want to definitely control the killing of the bees and the killing of the pollinators. Things are just upside down. I'm sorry, I'm a little discouraged this morning because we've worked so hard to try to get everything planted in time and try to get a jump start, and now to not see any pollinators is discouraging, very discouraging to me. So plants that don't typically need pollinators are your bush beans, your green beans, many say tomatoes, but guys, I disagree to a point respectfully. I think that pollinators will increase our harvest. Your brassicas tend to do just fine without pollinators, but cucumbers definitely need pollinators. Squash and zucchini and your squash varieties and your melons definitely need pollinators. I believe tomatoes need pollinators. Your peppers do not. They tend to be okay. So keep that in mind when you're working in your garden, and do report back and let me know what you're seeing as far as pollinators go in your area, and if you're seeing some issues, because we sure are, and it's deeply concerning. We're having very mild weather right now. We've, I think, only had 2 days in the 90s, and our nights are very cool. So there's really no reason why we shouldn't see pollinators, and we want them now when our plants are young and ready and flowering out, you know, ready to produce before the heat sets in, because once that heat sets in, we have a big struggle, and we're going to be hitting June next week. Now that we expect to be here in North Texas mild and wet for June, I hope that's the truth, and I hope we get pollinators soon, because we really need to take advantage of these cooler temps. Look at see my okra over there? We even tried to get that in early and force it to come up, but it just wouldn't until it started getting warmer, guys, until the soil warmed up, until things got warmed up. And I really thought maybe in this high tunnel it would have been a little bit warmer, but we had such cool nights that it didn't come up till it was wanting to. So anyway, wanted to share some concern with you guys. I do want to hear your feedback. I want to know what's going on in your area. I want to know what's going on with your garden. I want to know if you're seeing the same thing. So God bless you all. We'll be in touch. Love you. Pray, pray, pray. See you soon.